There's something you need to understand, and it's important that you hear this slowly and clearly. What you've been feeling lately is not random. The pressure, the strange calm moments, the sudden clarity, the emotional waves that come and go without explanation, the feeling that something is changing but you can't explain what exactly, all of this is not happening by accident. Something is shifting, but not outside first. It's happening inside you, and more specifically, it's happening in your nervous system. Most people think change starts when something big happens in their life. They think change starts when they get a new job, move to a new place, meet new people, or lose something important. But real change doesn't start outside. Real change starts when your nervous system begins to respond differently to the same world you've always lived in. And that is exactly what is happening right now for many people. You may have noticed that things that used to stress you don't hit the same way anymore. Or maybe the opposite. Small things suddenly feel heavier than they used to. Some days you feel extremely calm for no reason, and other days you feel pressure like something is about to happen, but nothing actually happens. You might feel like you're waiting for something, but you don't know what you're waiting for. This feeling is becoming very common, and most people are misunderstanding it completely. They think something is wrong with them. They think they are losing motivation, losing direction, losing energy, or becoming more emotional. But what if none of that is the problem? What if what's actually happening is that your system is being prepared for a different way of responding to life? For a very long time, the human nervous system has been built around urgency and survival. React quickly, decide quickly, worry quickly, move quickly. Always assume something might go wrong, always be ready, always be alert. This kept people alive for thousands of years. But in the modern world, this same system creates overthinking, anxiety, pressure, comparison, and constant mental noise. So the problem is not that people are weak now. The problem is that the system is outdated for the environment we live in. And this is where the shift begins. Not in the world first, but in the way your system interprets the world. Some people are starting to notice that they don't react as quickly as they used to. There is a pause now. Someone says something, and instead of reacting immediately, there is a moment of silence inside you where you observe before responding. A situation happens, and instead of panicking immediately, you wait, you watch, and then you move. That pause is very important. That pause means your system is no longer controlled by urgency. It is starting to move toward clarity. Clarity and urgency cannot exist at the same time. When you are urgent, you cannot see clearly. When you see clearly, you do not feel urgent. So if your life feels slower right now, if decisions feel delayed, if things are not moving as fast as you expected, it does not always mean you are falling behind. Sometimes it means you are finally seeing before moving instead of moving before seeing. And this is why many people feel like their old habits are not working anymore. The things that used to distract you don't distract you the same way. The things that used to motivate you don't motivate you the same way. Even the goals you had sometimes feel different now, like you're not sure if you still want the same things. This confuses people because they think they are losing direction, but often what is actually happening is that they are losing borrowed direction and starting to look for their own. Your nervous system always knows when something is not aligned, even when your mind keeps trying to force it. That's why you can logically explain why something is good for you, but you still feel resistance inside. That resistance is not always fear. Sometimes that resistance is intelligence. Sometimes your system sees something your mind has not accepted yet. This is why overthinking becomes exhausting during times like this. Overthinking is what the mind does when it does not trust the system underneath it. So it keeps running scenarios, trying to predict everything, trying to control everything. But when your system becomes more stable, you don't need to think through everything. Some decisions become obvious without needing long explanations. You just know. And this just knowing is something many people are starting to experience, but they don't trust it yet because it doesn't come from logic step by step. It arrives complete. And this is where the real change begins. Not when you learn more, but when you need to think less to see clearly. That is a very different kind of intelligence. It is quiet, fast, and very precise. If you've made it this far, don't forget to subscribe for daily cosmic insights, astrology updates, and spiritual guidance, because the universe always has a message for you. You may also notice that you are starting to see people differently, not because they changed, but because your reaction to them changed. You notice who drains your energy faster. You notice who makes things feel simple. You notice who talks a lot but says very little. You notice who is calm even when things go wrong. These things were always there, but when your nervous system is busy reacting and worrying, you don't notice clearly. When it becomes calm, you see people and situations much more accurately. And this can be uncomfortable because clarity changes your decisions. You start saying no to things you used to say yes to. You start walking away from conversations that used to keep you entertained. You start choosing peace over excitement in many situations. And at first, this feels strange because you think life is becoming boring, but what is actually happening is life is becoming less chaotic. Most people are addicted to emotional chaos, and they don't even realize it. They think drama is passion. They think stress is ambition. They think overthinking is intelligence. They think reacting fast is confidence. But many times, these are just nervous system patterns that were never questioned. When the system changes, your definition of everything changes. Success changes. Relationships change. Time changes. Even silence changes. Silence stops feeling empty and starts feeling peaceful. And this is why this shift is not loud. It is very quiet. It happens in small moments. In the moment when you don't respond to an argument. In the moment when you don't panic about the future. In the moment when you accept something instead of fighting it. In the moment when you walk away from something that is not right for you, even if it looks good on paper. These small decisions are signs that your system is no longer operating the same way it used to. Many people think transformation is dramatic, but real transformation is quiet. It is when you respond differently to the same situations that used to control you. That's when you know something inside you has changed. So, if you feel like something is different, but you cannot explain what exactly, if you feel pressure, but also moments of strange calm, if you feel like you are letting go of old habits, old goals, old ways of thinking, if you feel like you are observing more and reacting less, then you are not lost and you are not falling behind. You are adjusting. And adjustments always feel uncomfortable in the beginning because you are leaving a system you were used to, even if that system was stressful and confusing. The unknown always feels uncomfortable at first, even when it is better than the past. So do not rush this process. Do not try to force clarity. Do not try to figure out everything immediately. Not everything is meant to be understood instantly. Some things are meant to become clear only after you stop forcing answers. Right now, the most important thing you can do is very simple, but not easy. Slow down your reactions. Notice what drains you. Notice what gives you energy. Notice when you feel calm and when you feel pressure. Your nervous system is always communicating with you, but most people are too busy thinking to listen. This shift is not about becoming someone else. It is about becoming someone who does not fight themselves all the time. And when that happens, life does not suddenly become perfect, but it becomes clear. And clarity removes a lot of unnecessary suffering that comes from confusion, overthinking, and reacting to things that were never important in the first place. So, if you feel like something is changing inside you, don't panic, don't rush, and don't try to go back to who you were just because it feels familiar. Familiar does not always mean right. Sometimes familiar just means you stayed there long enough to get used to it. You are not being pushed randomly. You are being adjusted slowly. And once the nervous system becomes stable, decisions become clear, timing becomes clear, people become clear, and your path becomes clear without you needing to chase answers all the time. So, whatever you are feeling right now, instead of asking, "What is happening to my life?" maybe ask a different question. Ask, "What is changing inside me that is changing the way I see my life?" Because the moment that question becomes clear, everything else will start becoming clear too. There is something else you need to understand, and this part is even more important than what we talked about before. When the nervous system starts changing, it doesn't just change how you react to stress. It changes what you tolerate, what you notice, what you ignore, and what you walk away from. And this is the part that confuses most people because they start feeling different about the same life they were living before. You might start noticing that some conversations feel very heavy, even if nothing bad is being said. You might start noticing that certain environments make you tired very quickly. Loud places, negative people, constant complaining, unnecessary drama, all of these things start to feel more exhausting than they used to. And at the same time, simple things start to feel more important. Silence becomes comfortable. A short walk feels better than a long conversation. Sitting alone feels better than being in the wrong company. This is not isolation. This is not sadness. This is your system choosing peace over noise. Most people don't realize how much noise they live in every day. Not just sound, but mental noise, emotional noise, social noise, information noise, opinions everywhere, news everywhere, notifications everywhere, people telling you what you should do, what success should look like, where you should be by a certain age, how fast you should move, how much money you should make, how your life should look from the outside. All of this creates pressure that the nervous system was never designed to handle continuously. So what happens is people start living in a constant low-level state of urgency. Nothing is actually wrong in the moment, but the system feels like something is always about to go wrong. That becomes the baseline. And when urgency becomes your baseline, you stop thinking clearly. You start making decisions just to remove pressure, not because they are the right decisions. You reply quickly just to end the conversation. You agree to things just to avoid conflict. You make career decisions just because time is passing. You enter relationships because you feel behind. You rush everything, not because it's right, but because pressure feels uncomfortable. But when the nervous system begins to stabilize, something very strange happens. You stop feeling that constant urgency. And at first, this can feel very uncomfortable because you are used to that pressure pushing you forward. Without that pressure, you may feel like you are not moving fast enough. You may feel like you are becoming lazy or unmotivated. But many times, what is actually happening is that you are no longer being pushed by fear. And when fear stops pushing you, you have to start moving based on clarity instead. And clarity is slower in the beginning, but much more accurate in the long run. This is why some people suddenly change direction in life during these periods. They leave jobs that looked perfect from the outside. They stop chasing goals they once wanted badly. They distance themselves from people they spent years with. From the outside, it looks like they are making risky or emotional decisions. But from the inside, it feels like they are finally making honest decisions. Your nervous system always knows when something is wrong for you long before your mind admits it. The problem is, most people override that feeling for years. They stay in places that exhaust them. They stay around people that drain them. They keep chasing goals that don't actually make them happy. And after some time, the system starts pushing back. Not by talking, but by sending signals. Exhaustion, overthinking, lack of motivation, random anxiety, feeling stuck, feeling lost, feeling disconnected. These are not always problems to fix. Sometimes these are messages to read. But most people don't read the message. They just try to remove the feeling. They distract themselves, scroll more, watch more, drink more, work more, talk more, anything to avoid sitting quietly and asking one simple question: what in my life is not aligned with who I am becoming? That is a very difficult question, because the answer usually requires change, and change always feels uncomfortable at first, even when it is necessary. This is why this period feels confusing for many people. You are not the same person you were a few years ago, but your life might still be built around the decisions of your past self. So now there is a gap between who you are and how you are living, and that gap creates pressure, not because something is wrong with you, but because something in your life no longer matches who you are becoming. And here is something very important to understand. Not all pressure is bad. Some pressure is direction. Some pressure is correction. Some pressure is life pushing you slowly into a place where you are supposed to be, not where you accidentally ended up. Many people think clarity will come like a big realization, like suddenly everything will make sense and they will know exactly what to do. But clarity usually does not come like that. Clarity comes quietly. First, you realize what you don't want anymore. Then you realize what drains you. Then you realize what makes you calm. Then you realize what actually matters to you. And slowly, without a big dramatic moment, your direction changes. And one day you look back and realize you are not living the same life you were living before, and you didn't even notice when exactly it changed. This is why patience becomes very important during these times. Because if you rush decisions just to remove uncertainty, you often create more confusion later. But if you allow yourself to observe, to learn, to understand what you actually feel instead of what you think you should feel, then your decisions become much more accurate. Another thing that starts changing when the nervous system stabilizes is your relationship with time. Before, everything feels urgent. You feel late, you feel behind, you feel like everyone else is moving faster than you. But when you become calmer inside, time feels different. You start understanding that life is not a race against other people. It is a process of becoming the person who can actually handle the life you want. Because getting what you want before you become the person who can handle it usually creates more problems, not more happiness. That is why many people achieve their goals and still feel empty or stressed or lost. They reached the destination, but they did not become the person who can live peacefully at that destination. So maybe life is not only preparing your future, maybe life is preparing you for your future. And that preparation does not always feel exciting. Sometimes it feels like delay. Sometimes it feels like confusion. Sometimes it feels like nothing is happening. But a lot can be happening internally when nothing is changing externally. So if you feel like your life is slow right now, if you feel like you are waiting, if you feel like you are in between your old life and your new life, but you don't fully belong to either, then you are in a transition. And transitions are uncomfortable because you cannot go back, and you cannot fully move forward yet. You are in the middle, and the middle is always the most confusing place to be. But the middle is also where the change happens. So instead of asking, "Why is nothing happening?" maybe ask, "What is happening inside me while everything looks the same outside?" Because sometimes the biggest changes in your life will not start when something new enters your life. They will start when something old finally leaves your mind, your habits, your expectations, or your identity. And when that happens, you don't become a completely new person. You become a more honest version of yourself. And that changes everything.